In this video, I'll be covering on how to make physical pickups for the generic interaction component system. In this example here, we have this soda can that you can walk up to, pick up, and let go, and kind of throw it around. You may have seen this example in the previous room where you had to put the soda can in the trash can to open the door. So how do we create these physical pickups? They're rather simple. First, you have to be sure that you've integrated a physics handle in the very first integration video tutorial. And once your character has a physics handle and all the physics related pickup component stuff is integrated as it should be, making a physical pickup is pretty simple. As you can see, there aren't really any functions here in the event graph. There's really no logic needed to be able to pick something up. The only thing that you really need to do is, again, with your basic interactable stuff, make sure it's focusable, give it some interaction text. You do have to check the true box on the isPhysicsPickup return node. So all interactables have an interface function called isPhysicsPickup. Simply set this to true, and then you do need to supply a primitive component to be used for picking things up. Now in this case, it is simply the mesh itself. This soda can has a mesh component which currently is called cube and probably should not be called cube. I want to rename this to mesh right now. And all this is the mesh. Now there are some things you do need to set on this mesh component for it to work properly. First, simulate physics should be turned on, because if you don't do that, then the mesh will not respond to physics. It'll just simply float around and it just won't do anything. Now, you can change things like how heavy it is to give it a different feeling, but the most important thing you need to do is you need to go down to collision, and I highly recommend setting can character step up on to no, because otherwise you can kind of put the soda can underneath you and you'll step on it while holding it and it creates this weird gameplay issue. So highly recommend setting that to no. Then for collision presets, I recommend blocking everything but ignoring pawns. This way you can't really shove the soda can into yourself. Now if you have a pickup object that you want to have explode on other pawns, what I would do is I would set this to overlap, and then when it overlaps another pawn, do some sort of event. But I do not recommend setting these to blocking pawns while you're holding them. Now, that said, when all that is set up, again, just turning on simulate physics, making sure collision is set to block all, ignore pawn, then you're ready to have it picked up. Again, you still need to have the basic interactable setup with any other interactable. The only additional setup is, again, simulate physics and setting up collision. And once you've done that, all you need to do is walk up to it and press your E key to pick it up and press your E key to release. The component handles all of the physics handle setup for you, as long as you have supplied a physics handle in your character integration. And you can then proceed to use your physics object as you would any other physics object in the world in Unreal. Now, this has the side effect of if you give it a little bit of movement and let go, you can toss it around. Which is kind of neat. Whee! And you can go ahead and build other mechanics based on this, such as this power converter puzzle, which isn't really much of a puzzle, but it's to demonstrate how you can use physics pickups in a more complex mechanic, such as having these red, green, and blue plugs having to be plugged in to their respective thing. Now, sometimes you might notice this black stretchy cable here. This is a bug in Unreal and not with the generic interaction component. It is another cable component that's just gone crazy, and for whatever reason, this is still an unresolved issue. Sometimes it behaves correctly, sometimes it doesn't. I can't really answer why. But let's go ahead and grab these power cables and plug them in here. And again, these are just simple actors that have a physical mesh, this little cylinder thing, and it's set up to be picked up. And this converter box has trigger boxes on the end here that when a power plug gets connected to it, it tells the player character to let go of that object and to lock that object in place. And if all three are connected, it opens this door. You can take a look at that here. This blueprint is rather big because it uses child actors and things, but Here we see when the blue input box is overlapped, we check to see if the power plug is blue, and if it is, we can tell any interactable to force a release of that thing. All the code is here in this blueprint. It's a rather advanced concept I'm not going to cover in this tutorial. But you can define any behavior you want using these pickups, including making a door open when you plug things in. So, going back to the trash can example here, you can see we have the same soda can blueprint and a trash can blueprint. This trash can has a sphere collider in it, and when overlapped, it checks to make sure that whatever is thrown in it has the actor tag called trash. This is something that's set up on a soda can. If we go to this blueprint and go to the class defaults, down here you'll see I added the tag trash, and this is just so that my trash can receive events for any trash put into it, regardless of what that actor is. So if this actor is indeed trash, it will go ahead and send an interact simple event to whatever its receiver is. And in this case, the receiver is both this door and this confetti. So when you put the soda can in the trash can, it sends that event off to the door and the confetti, and thus opens the door and makes the confetti shoot out of the invisible point that it shoots out from. Terrible explanation. Pick up the soda can, put in the trash can. I kind of missed there. There we go. And that's the basics on physical pickup.